Hey guys, how we doing? Great to see y'all. Great to be back on the grass. Before I get started, good luck to Andy and the boys in Vegas. March Madness is here, and looking forward to watching the team perform. It's going to be really neat. They've done a great job this year, and can't wait to see what they do in Vegas. It's just great to be back out here. And as a coach, when you talk about spring ball, it's really, really exciting because you're starting, a new year with a new team. And that's what it is. You're looking at a new squad. And I told our guys, last year was extremely rewarding, going to the Rose Bowl. But that is in the past now. We move on because it is a new year, and there's a lot of things that we have to address. I asked each one of them, both coaches and staff, even though last year was rewarding, was it satisfying to you? And the answer was no, it wasn't satisfying because we're here to win championships. Even though it was great memories, an unbelievable time. It's our time to go try to win Pac-12 championships and national championships. That's what SC is about. To be able to do that, we've got a lot of issues that we've got to address. I told them I'm going to mention some names to you. Stevie Tuikoavatu, Michael Hutchings, Justin Davis, Darius Rogers, Adoree Jackson, Juju Smith, and several others, Zach Banner, Chad Wheeler. What did that say to you as a team? And their instant word was leadership. And that's the first thing that we have to develop out here is the development of leadership with our younger guys. With having that amount of older guys, 8 in the combine, possibly 10 guys drafted off last year's team, it's going to be a time for young people that were freshmen, sophomores, to step up and take more of a leadership role. The other thing that's going to have to happen, as you saw today, was we're going to have to develop the players that had lesser experience on the field. You see it at the wideout position, losing a first and second string team with young wideouts that are going to have to step up. Losing 3 offensive linemen. You're going to have some young linemen now that were freshmen, sophomores, now they're juniors and sophomores, grow up. And play great time for us. You're going to have to see the middle of a defense be recreated, with losing a nose tackle, a Mike Backer, and a free safety in Stevie, Mike, and Leon. So there's several things that we got to do with some lesser experienced players to get them ready. The last and what I think is the most important thing is making sure that we understand our faults from last year, especially early in the season. We learned how to win ball games by playing clean, fundamental football for 9 games straight. USC didn't beat USC. And I think that's the biggest thing for us is we have to learn how to start fast rather than being a great closing team, be a consistent team game in and game out. It's really neat to see today, just first impressions. I told the guys to have 9 of your 10 full-time coaches back on a staff that was successful, not to have to change systems, have all 3 coordinators back. It was really neat to see how far ahead we are in this spring compared to last. Players are not having to learn systems. This should really be attention to detail, fundamental technique camp, both this camp and in training camp in the fall. As far as injuries go, there's a couple guys that will be totally out for spring. Toa Lobanon will do no teamwork. You saw him doing some rehab today, but he's looking good in that area. Jonathan Lockett will be out after a hip surgery. Stephen Mitchell will be out, be extremely limited after an ACL surgery. Trayvon Sidney will be out after a hip surgery in the offseason, and Nathan Smith will be out with a ACL injury from the bowl game. Guys that will be limited right now, Kenny Bigelow will be limited this week and probably limited through camp. He'll do individual drills. Jacob Daniel is got a little bit of a hamstring, so we held him just a hair today. Porter Gustin we expect back. He's coming off a hand surgery. That's about 2 weeks away from being full speed. So hopefully after spring break, we'll get him back. Nico Fala's got a little bit of a back issue that we're going to allow just to do a little bit this week, then hopefully get him full back after spring break. Vianney went about half a practice today with a little bit of a tweak of a hamstring, and Dominic Davis is out with a concussion-like syndrome. With that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Coach, the idea that you had about winning championships, you must feel that you have the elements to be able to surpass what you accomplished last year.
Well, I think right now, to be honest with you, looking at a new football team, and like I said, the key to our success is we have some key elements. You have the quarterback, you have some talented running back core, but you're having to replace 3 offensive linemen. You're having to replace the middle of the defense. Not to say that we don't have the talent, but it's inexperience, and these reps in spring and these reps in fall will really dictate, I think, where we play next year.
Coach, how will you keep your team from thinking about last year and the great victory over Penn State and all these other things when they are still, very inexperienced in certain places, and it seems like it was really just yesterday when all that happened.
Yeah, I know. Anytime you play January 2nd and you get those 3 extra weeks, I thought it really helped us to really have 3 extra weeks of game prep. Gave us the opportunity to develop some young players, obviously, that you're going to see that we need right now, Jim. For us, I really challenged them, and I told them, I said, this is a new team. This is a different team. You lost several men that we counted on a ton of snaps and leadership from. So we have accomplished nothing with this team. We have to keep the chip on our shoulder that we're trying to perform each and every game, and that's the approach that we'll take.
Clay, Sam has talked as early as last year about trying to be a more vocal leader.
Yeah.
Have you seen improvement on that front?
Yeah, he's pushed himself into a little bit of a vocal role. I've asked him to just be him. I tell you, one of the great things that Sam does, he is a great one-on-one leader, to pull a guy aside and communicate with him. He does that as good as anybody I've seen. And then he picks and chooses his time. He's not one of those guys you're going to hear the entire camp or entire day. He's one of those guys that really says when he speaks, everybody listens. And then he gets you one-on-one, and then obviously he's a lead by example guy also. He's the definition of what a Trojan should be.
Coach,
Lots happened since the Rose Bowl. Of all the things that you've gotten to do or whatever, does anyone jump out at you? Is anyone more kind of a neat thing?
I got to meet Magic Johnson the other day, and when you look at when you get to shake the hand of a living legend and somebody that special, a player as well as a person, it was not only neat for myself, but I got to introduce him to 4 of our players that were there at the game, and it was a very, very special moment. And the words of wisdom that he gave us as a champion were powerful. So that was it's pretty neat to meet a living legend.
Coach, what's the status of Matt Baumeister and Osa Messina?
Yeah, there's been no change of their status. If anything happens there, I promise you I'll be the first to let you know.
Can you talk about EJ Jr.? Or DJ Price, excuse me.
Yeah, his status has not changed. If anything changes there, I'll let you know.
You mentioned the batch of redshirt receivers coming out, and they're going to have a chance to compete for playing time. What did you see from them, if anything notable today?
Yeah, the biggest thing I challenge them is learn how to get lined up. Obviously it's a no-huddle offense, and the biggest key is the plays are easy, but one of the things that you've seen us do to be able to try to dictate defenses and to dictate coverage for the quarterback is motions. Anytime that you use motion, you basically dictate for a quarterback, is it man or zone coverage? So they have to be able to learn formations, motions, and play at a fast tempo and get the chemistry with the quarterback. That's going to be the biggest thing in these 15 practices in our PRPs over the summer, plus 29 practices in the fall. That's probably the biggest thing that we have to get done as far as the wideout position, is establishing that chemistry that a Darius had, that a Juju had. That where they're going to be 100% of the time, and you have trust in them.
Can you talk about Sam and what he worked on during the offseason, and it's changed his mentality now, knowing that based on his performance, the job is his to lose over there.
Yeah, we sat down and really said, the way you were successful last year is you focused on the moment. You focused on the preparation of this day and this day only. And it was kind of a big stack of little wins, And when you do that and you focus on the moment and you focus on your preparation in that day and that day only, then good things are going to happen to you when you're that talented of a guy. So I've challenged him to keep that going, that, let's focus on this camp, one practice at a time. There's things that we need to improve. Keep improving our footwork. Keep diagnosing defenses and coverages, making sure that we understand now we can re-slide protection like he did at the latter half of the year. So there's several things as being a student of the game that he can improve on. Obviously he's a great athlete, great quarterback, but our primary focus is just getting better this day.
Did you go back and watch the Rose Bowl, the TV version of it, and just watch it how a fan would watch it?
Yes, I did.
What was that experience like watching it in that capacity?
It was, like I said, it was rewarding. To go through a season like that, it was neat to see that memory happen, and it's something that I'll never forget. The challenge to ourselves as a full team is to have the discipline to move on and not live in the past, but focus on the future. And so I've watched it. I won't watch it again. It's time to.
You'll watch it once, or?
No, I've watched the TV copy once, and now it's time to move on and to focus on getting our team better. So the discipline of that is hard.
Right.
You'd love to pat yourself on the back and keep on looking back, but the problem is there's too many issues moving forward that we have to address.
Deontay said that he hasn't watched it at all. Will you use that film as a study device as well, or is it?
No, the biggest thing I think it is I think the culmination of that entire season, the lessons that we learned is what I talked about in our team meeting. We learned how to win. We learned how to, not commit the critical errors, whether it was turnover-wise, whether it was penalties, playing clean football down the stretch, learning how to play in a hostile atmosphere like Washington, a hype game like Washington. And then that final test in the Rose Bowl was, like I told them, you learned how to come from behind. We had not been in that situation really since Alabama. From October to November, it was a great lesson. It was kind of our final exam, and to be able to get that done, I'm hoping that's the last piece of the puzzle that we learned from, and now we'll continue on to the next season.
So you're watching the combine this week, and all of a sudden you hear the guy everybody's talking about is not at the combine, but it's Sam Darnold. What are you're thinking? Oh man.
Well, no, I think like I told him, when you perform like you do, good things happen to you. But how do you perform? Do you focus on the future, or do you focus on the moment? Do you focus on now? And the fact of the matter is, if we don't focus on now, if we don't focus on the chemistry that we have to create with a group of receivers, if we don't focus on performing at an elite level at quarterback with a young football team, then individual success is only the byproduct of the team's success. You don't see those accolades come on a 6-6 football team or an 8-4 football team. They come when you do really special things with your team, and so that's my lesson for him right now, is focus on the moment and focus on you getting better and helping your team get better.
Jack Sears coming out of the same program. What have been your first impressions of him, and how similar or different is he coming out of the program?
Yeah, one, you can see that. They've done a great job, and Coach Ortiz has done an unbelievable job there of developing all his players, and you got two really, really good quarterbacks coming out of the same program. We're very fortunate to have Sam here, Matt Fink here, and obviously Jack. And, I challenged Tyson the other day, and our coaching staff, that sometimes, especially at his position, you get lost sometimes when you have that great player that's sitting in that starting spot, and it's just as important to bring the second and the third guy up, because you're one snap away. And that's our challenge right now, is to be able to get our guys that are with lesser experience moved up where they can perform if called upon.
Can you handicap the competition at offensive tackle?
Yeah, right now you're looking at Chuma in the left tackle position. We're looking at Roy in the right tackle position. I think it's something that's going to be going on through camp, our fall training camp, just because of the injuries that are out there. You've got a Toa sitting out, you've got a Nate Smith sitting out, you've got some young tackles that are coming in, and Andrew Voorhees, to be able to see where he's at. So there's several guys that we're really going to have to evaluate. I don't think that I'll have an answer for you after spring ball. We'll do it 2 deep like we did last year in the middle of training camp after 2 weeks. But right now for me, the guy that stands out is Chuma, because he's had the most experience, and he looked good today.
Yeah, because of that, do you want him at left, like if that being Joe World, your left tackle?
Yeah, if we had to play today, Adam, really he would be the left tackle. He has the most experience. He's extremely athletic. He's played both sides before. The best player plays. We'll see where we are come the fall. But if we had to play today, Chuma has the most experience and the most athleticism. Good question.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Coach.
Appreciate it, guys.